What do you wish you had in high school that kids have today? My son is in his high school's robotics team. They have tons of tools to build robots to compete, including a big machine that cuts sheets of metal based on what digital file you send it. I'd have loved to have had that. When I was in high school, the most advanced tool I had access to was a dot matrix printer. I wowed my classmates with my complex report covers made with word art and highly pixelated graphics, MP3 players / Spotify and the like. I had to carry around my Discman on my long walk home from school. Even with anti-skip it would still buffer every now and then. Don't get me started on batteries too. Nowadays it's so easy to listen to anything at any time. Back then it wasn't. So this isn't a tangible thing I wish I had. But I have a 14-year-old son, and the one thing that I really admire about him and his entire friend group is that they are so open with their feelings with one another. It sounds cheesy, but it seems like kids in this current generation are much more okay with letting each other know they care. There's just an openness with them all that I find refreshing. It's something that I didn't experience in my sad goth staring out the window late 90s high school days. And I really love it about all those kids. I'm in college as an older person ATM. And honestly, I wish I had the social dynamics LOL. I was eating lunch and I heard two guys talking to each other, and he was showing his friend something on his phone and he was like, "Bro, she's beautiful, I can totally see you guys together," and it seemed to make the other guy really happy. I don't know if he was maybe feeling insecure about how he looks or whatever, but you could tell it meant a bit to him. It just seems less cliquey. Less every man for themselves. I'm sure there's plenty of assholes, obviously, but just generally kids seem really nice and smart these days. I see a lot of nothing responses, cherishing the lack of intrusive technology and privacy. But I feel like I missed out on the chance to really capture memories I would hang on to forever. The only real pictures I have of friends from the time are so limited that it makes me sad. I graduated in '06. And I have one packet of lab-developed pictures from one of those disposable snap and shoot cameras that a few of my friends and myself used. They are such fun pictures. They help me cherish the memories. Also, I was really into video editing at the time. My best friend and I were doing everything we could to film and edit lightsaber battles, with force lightning, force pulls, etc. My father works in insurance, and he had a digital camera that recorded low residential images to a 3.5 floppy. It recorded about 12 seconds of grainy image per shoot. We made do, and we had a blast. But the idea of having a camera in our pocket that could easily film 4K and enable some truly epic short films? Bummer. Perhaps technology feels invasive in a sense, but it also gives you the ability to look back, and to innovate, and to explore. Personally, having come from high school in the 90s when we did have internet but it was more of a novelty, Wikipedia. Wikipedia is one of the greatest repositories of human knowledge, and you can see the sources. It would have been amazing for it to have been built out to where it is now while I was in high school. Better building and facilities. When I was at school the place was falling apart, and a couple of years after I left they knocked it down and rebuilt it with a state-of-the-art media center and technology and design department with 3D printers and SolidWorks CAD workstations. Makeup tutorials on YouTube. These kids these days have no idea how good they have it. I was looking like an orange-faced, pale neck, raccoon-eyed mess. It sounds corny, but Reddit. I first turned to Reddit when I was in college in 2014 because I had a weird thing going on in my dating life that I couldn't bother anyone else with in real life. Reddit advised me, and it really helped. Sometimes you just need to talk to strangers. As weird as that may sound, if I had known about Reddit in high school, I would have had some help or peace of mind figuring out my very confusing and sheltered high school years. YouTube had to settle for Nabisco World, only on a desktop. I'd have killed to have an iPhone in high school. Lack of stigma against LGBT people. This was an absolute taboo in my school sadly, and I'm aware that in many places it's still like this, but thankfully there are many schools nowadays that don't make a huge deal out of it and offer better support to those that need it. The internet could have diagnosed my own sleep disorder, narcolepsy, and saved myself decades of suffering. I also could have found videos to help me understand subjects I didn't understand very well, probably because I was so sleep deprived. Would have changed my trajectory in every facet of my life. Self-esteem, financial concepts, college, I never went, etc. I'm glad that girls in STEM careers is more of a thing nowadays. It wasn't when I was growing up. My parents wanted me to be a teacher. I wanted to be Indiana Jones. However, my daughter is super smart and wants to be an astrophysicist. The academic atmosphere is just right for her. I'm so excited and can live vicariously through her. But I do wish it was more mainstream when I was a kid. Enthusiastic consent. In high school we were told that no means no. If you say not to a sexual encounter but it still happens, then it's rape. Today it's yes means yes. When I was young my stepbrother molested me and I just ducking froze. He did this several times and I thought since I didn't say no that I asked for it or wanted it, and I was ashamed, and if I told anyone they would take his side. And maybe he wasn't a bad guy because he didn't know I didn't want him to do that. I kept this secret for over 20 years. And when I finally did tell my mom, she did take his side and we don't talk anymore. Meanwhile my stepbrother is in jail for raping his daughter. Air-conditioned school buses. Every day I felt so much nausea because it would get so hot in a bus because we live in South Texas and because it was overpacked with moving children. And I was the last kid to be dropped off always, so it was like a 2-hour bus ride. Bluetooth headphones. Could never perfectly hide the cord. Would get caught and lose my phone for the class. Lack of extremely strict phone rules. Wanna check a text or the time between classes. Confiscated until your parent/guardian picks it up for you. Being on your phone during class is one thing, but it was ridiculous that we couldn't even use them during our lunch period. Nowadays apparently classes participate in group activities on their phone. Like Kahoot or whatever that is. Actual useful computer classes. In 1999 when I was in grade 8. We had a really awesome computer teacher that started with the basics of A+. Basically teaching us how to build PCs. By the next year, that teacher had left for bigger and better things. The librarian who knew less about computers than the kids became our computer class teacher. And the curriculum was to learn how to use Microsoft Word, IE, etc. With the teacher learning alongside the class. It was a monumental waste of time. Basically a free period. A camera in my pocket for sure. I never took any pictures of me and my friends because even a cheap camera was expensive to develop or make copies, and cameras were bulky. Would love to have pictures of those times we had before we grew up and grew apart. Adderall. I would have performed so much better and may have actually went to a university after. A graphic calculator. God, it's so useful for math. It can literally do anything. Hell, it's even got the periodic table, found in apps, or you can download it online. Streaming music. I would have found more music that suited my taste and that I could identify with personally. Plus streaming is way more efficient than downloading albums from Pirate Bay or whatever. YouTube. As a fashion design student and designer, YouTube has given me endless information and also has archive after archive of fashion history. One thing I'm grateful for is not having social media back then. I would have overshared like a MF and also felt even more inadequate compared to my schoolmates. I would have regretted posting so many things. I was bullied and physically abused in real life. That bullying would have been worse with social media. I wished I could have had an iPad my entire time in school. I have dysgraphia, but when I was in school they just thought I was lazy or stupid. I spent years in remedial reading classes because they thought that's why I was doing my school work. My handwriting was also horrible, and every teacher I had from first grade through my freshman year tried to make me their project because they thought they could fix me. After a month they all gave up. I was told I wouldn't be able to go to college because they wouldn't be able to read my handwriting. Dysgraphia is basically like dyslexia in the form of handwriting. If I wanted my homework to be legible, it would take me hours and my hand would hurt so much, but no one believed me. They just thought I was lazy. Even when I did my best, my teachers would still either give me a 0 or make me do my work over because they couldn't read it. When I went to private Christian school, I would get detentions and swats for it. The punishments and doing the work over again wasn't the worst part. I just wished people, parents, teachers and classmates didn't think I was stupid. When I was in my 20s, I found out about dysgraphia and I wanted to find each and every one of my teachers and shove it in their faces.